compatriotes, frères Maxime yo. Yon peuple qui pas connaît côté le sorti, pas connaît tout rêve que pas même osé imaginer. Tout pas n'importe peuple. L'école yo pas dit nous tout peuple que nous y a. Nous sortis loin. Nous sortis dans Guinée, c'est vrai. Mais son paquet de nations qui viennent et qui composaient peuple haïtien que nous y est aujourd'hui. Nous traversons l'Atlantique dans quel bateau négrier. Il y a des gens qui disent ah, on va tourner encore avec l'histoire. Mais ce n'est pas comme l'histoire, on ne pas compte qui a souillé. Mais je dis, nous sommes loin, nous sommes peuple du feu, nous sommes peuple dignité, nous sommes peuple souverain. Nous sommes premier pays qui naît de gros gourmet qui était fait pour que les ancêtres nous étaient capables de prendre indépendance. C'est pour voir ça été fait dans le monde entier. Le premier empire nègre des Amériques. Et empereur nous relé Jacques, empereur premier d'Haïti. Haïti, c'est maman liberté. Nous-mêmes, nous sommes descendants, femmes à garçons voyants, moi, les marrons libertaires, qui étaient levés, campés, pour te dire non. Non à un système qui était là depuis que le monde existait et qui, première fois, déclarait en nation d'hommes noirs, de femmes noires et aussi des mondes mélangés, parce que nous tous, nous sommes des mélangés. Nous tous, c'est des mondes qui viennent déclarer libres. Je dis, nous sommes descendants des marrons libertaires. Nous sommes peuple vaillant, nous sommes peuple qui jambe. Nous sommes petit de rois et reines d'Afrique. Nous sommes paquet à faire dans le monde. C'est ça nous lié jusqu'à aujourd'hui, malgré ça, nous vivons aujourd'hui. Nous vivons dans un pays qui pouvait, une fois de plus, que nous avons force pour nous gommer, mais nous avons un pile courage pour nous supporter ça, la misère, la pauvreté. Pas seulement misère côté pas à manger, mais misère côté que nous en prison dans notre propre pays. Nous.
I have a creepy story. Actually, I'm thinking about calling this series Surviving Lakukai Job or The Mysteries of Lakukai Job. But let's get into it. So if you're new here, then you probably don't know that my family grew up on a land called Lakukai Job. And Lakukai Job, the direct translation is yard/house of demons. So this was located in a place called Saint-Roch in Haiti. That's where my father's side of the family is from. In Haiti, we call Saint-Roch en dehors because it's outside of the city. It's lots of trees. Like the houses aren't as advanced as the ones in the city. There's not as many cars. They don't really have roads. It's like up in the mountains with a lot of nature, trees, animals, and all of that good stuff, and waterfalls too. So I guess at some point in his life, my grandfather decided to buy land. And my family, again, they're no stranger to voodoo, so just keep that in mind as I tell this story. At some point in his life, my grandfather bought this land, and he knew what it was called. And in Haiti, we don't play that, you know what I mean? The name itself is very telling, but my grandfather, I guess he believed he was a bigger problem. These demons had nothing on him. So he got the land, and I understood that it was a contract that was made between the demons that owned the land and my grandfather to stay on that land. It was some sort of agreement. The thing is about anywhere in Haiti that's up in the mountains or in the forest, expect some freaky shit to go on. Expect to see a lugao. Expect to see something that you weren't supposed to see. And the thing is, they all come out at night. It never fails. Now that you know that this is the norm for forests in Haiti, now imagine, right? Now that you know the regular forest out there is already freaky. Now add a house of demons in the middle of the freakiness that's already going on. So this was my haunting. Now this would have been my first time going and staying the night. Now, on my way there, my father gave me a lot of warnings, okay? He told me that this land is not to be played with. Like, there's a lot of freakiness going around. So, like, you know, cross your T's and dot your I's. Like, don't do too much. And he's warning me, like, if you hear your name being called, you better confirm that somebody actually said your name before you answer. And, you know, chickens are also, like, the first animals to go to sleep and the first ones to wake up. So if it's, like, 1 in the morning and you're hearing a chicken outside singing, it ain't no damn chicken. Mind your business and do not look outside the window at night. And also, you don't see shit. I don't care what you think you saw. You did not see it. And also, you know, keep the family's business to yourself, because I know you, listen, I always like to run my mouth. So they definitely had to give me this warning. Keep your mouth shut and stay close to the house. A lot of rules in it. And as he's telling me all of this, I'm just like, ain't none of this shit gonna happen. Then my grandfather winds up meeting us along the way, and he starts telling me the exact same thing. So I'm like, okay, I don't think this is a joke. So okay, fine. And you get down there, and the thing is about when you get to Laku Kai Jab, you can sense that you're not alone. But the thing is, it didn't really feel like a bad vibe to me necessarily. It just felt like there's a lot going on here and somebody's watching me. The first few things that I do remember is broad daylight, seeing things like clearly run across my peripheral. And I would turn my head and it would be gone. Or somebody would like tap on my shoulder and I would turn and there's no one behind me. Again, these are not things that I really thought much of because it was nothing concrete. And mind you, at that point, I had never been to Saint-Roch before or Laku Kai Jab. But I remember instantly befriending something. Again, never been there in my life, but I would leave the house, go wander around, and I remember the entire time I'm walking around Saint-Roch, like I had somebody or something with me because I would be talking the whole time. Like I would be communicating the whole entire time. I would get to wherever, because where would I actually need to go? But I would get to wherever and then turn around and make it back home just in time before sundown. And again, whole time I was accompanied by someone. I don't remember that someone or somebody even actually physically being there with me. But I remember I was never alone because I was always talking to something, and that thing was constantly telling me where to go. Also, you never want to be caught outside after sundown in Haiti. So like that night one, after my little adventure, I went to sleep. Or I tried going to sleep. So where my bed was, there was a window. So just like that. Window right here, laying right here. I feel something come to the window and start scratching at the window. Now keep in mind, I could reach out and touch the window. I'm hearing scratching noises, and then it starts to intensify. And then the galloping was so loud. It's as though like a bunch of animals are just like speed or like bum rushing the house that we were staying in. Again, nobody in the house is saying nothing. Actually, nobody's even moving. It seems like everybody's just sleeping, minding their own business, and I'm just up. The galloping are like intensifying until I hear footsteps walk towards the window, and then the galloping stops. Everything just stops and then went quiet. So the scratching stops, the galloping stopped, the footstep got to my window and just stopped. So I could feel something on the other side of that window just standing there. And if there wasn't a curtain covering the window, I would feel like that thing is watching me. I still felt like whatever that thing was watching me. Then I start to hear adjustment. So like, it's as though this figure was wearing leather or something, because like when it moved, I could hear its body like making that crunchy sound. It's as though the motherfucker was standing and then he just kneeled, so I can hear him crouching. Then I start to hear. And at this point, y'all, I like freaked out is not even the word. Like petrified is not the word. It's not the word, because nobody around me is like moving or doing anything. So I'm trying to wake people up and nobody wants to move. Like I try to wake up my cousin and she's just like, girl, like leave me alone. And it's important to keep in mind that nobody that was staying in that house had sleep paralysis except for one person. So everybody could hear me freaking around and tapping around trying to get people to wake up. They just purposely ignored me. So at this point, I'm really just under the covers, scared as fuck, just trying to focus on my cousin's body heat because we were sharing the bed. So then why the fuck the tapping stops, and then I hear Nylan. That's my name. And it sounds so close. Then I hear my grandfather's voice, just casually just having a conversation with somebody outside. And then my grandfather calls me, Nyla! At this point, this is sounding very convincing because, like, that was my grandfather's voice. So I went to go get up, and all I feel was my cousin next to me just go. She didn't even say nothing, y'all. She just... And then I laid there, stared at the ceiling, and then eventually I fell asleep. The next morning, I asked my grandfather what he was doing outside that late. My grandfather says I wasn't even in this particular part of this neighborhood yesterday. Plus, what the hell do you think I'd be doing outside at 1 a.m? So I'm like, so you weren't outside by the window calling me? Warn me. Oh, okay. And I explained a little bit of what I endured last night, and everybody just laughed at me. They were like, well, who told you to stay up that late? It's your fault. And then this one guy was like, yeah, I had sleep paralysis. This kind of happens here. Everybody was just like, yeah, you know, just try to go to sleep early next time. And they were like, well, good thing you knew better and didn't answer when you heard your name being called, cause utaptula. Okay. And that was the worst night I had there. The haunting didn't stop, but it definitely subsided after that, at least for me. So I told my story all in one part, so if you made it to the end, go ahead and leave a comment so I know that you're fucking with this series already. I'll be using one of your comments to reply for the next video. Next would be either my uncle's story staying there or just a random person stopping by. Thank you for watching.
Honor and respect, honor and respect, honor and respect. Divine all blessed greetings and salutations. It is another edition of Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. Voodoo Hoodoo 101, powered, produced, promoted, sponsored, and supported by NOIVD, New Orleans International Voodoo Day. 2026, May 23rd, May 24th, Saturday and Sunday, 2026. New Orleans International Voodoo Day promises an inspiring and immersive experience with a diverse lineup of engaging events. Highlights include an educational symposium featuring distinguished speakers from around the world, including a delegation of scholars and spiritual leaders from Benin and Haiti, as well as art exhibitions showcasing voodoo-inspired works by talented local and international artists. The event will also feature a children's program, an Afro-ecology exhibit exploring the sacred nature of plants in voodoo, their role in spiritual practices, and their connection to our ancestors. The weekend will culminate in a ceremonial procession to 9 significant locations within our city, locations where the enslaved were brought ashore, held, auctioned, and where they later found community and built culture. This journey will begin at the transatlantic slave route to New Orleans marker on the moonwalk at the river just behind Jackson Square and conclude with a traditional voodoo ceremony led by our Benin delegation, our Haitian delegation, and our local practitioners in Congo Square. Additionally, visitors can participate in interactive workshops, community discussions, and opportunities to connect with practitioners and cultural experts throughout the year. And we certainly appreciate your continued love and support and participation in our 9 p.m. U.S. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday podcast here on a social media network near you or by way of our StreamYard link. I do apologize for our missing on last night. We had our monthly new moon ritual application and prayer service. It was phenomenal, and we just could not manage to come on board. But we are with you tonight, and we are going to continue our conversation as relates to ascended and elevated ancestors. Thank you so much for your continued love and support. Daniel Neal, greetings and salutations to you and yours, beloved community member. And Elijah Joshua Dupois, a local member of our community and resident, I believe, of Florida. And we certainly appreciate your continued support and participation. And we will be unmuting you momentarily, along with our beloved co-host, Queen Mother, Sister Toni Val Martinez, and our beloved Elder Reggie. Green Soap, leader and founder of Shrine of the White Cloth, and also a team member and co-administrator of NOIVD. And of course, the source. We certainly appreciate you. We were talking about elevated ancestors, ascended ancestors, spiritually enlightened beings, ascended ancestors. And sometimes we reference them as spiritual guides. Ascended ancestors are considered spiritually enlightened beings who have transcended the cycle of reincarnation and now guide humanity from the higher spiritual planes. They are believed to possess a deeper understanding of the spiritual and cosmic laws, having mastered the challenges and lessons of earthly existence. These beings are often invoked in prayers, rituals, and ceremonies, serving as intermediaries between the physical world and the spiritual realms. And they are seen as guardians who watch over the family, offering protection, guidance, and blessings. Their presence is continually acknowledged in the lives of the living, particularly during moments of crisis, celebration, and spiritual inquiry. In West African traditional cultures, for example, types of elevated ancestors can be characterized as the revered ancestors, direct ancestors, family ancestors, communal ancestors, collective ancestors, mythical ancestors, and spiritual guardians. Our revered ancestors, these are ancestors who are highly respected and considered to have a close connection with the divine, often interceding on behalf of the living. These are once humans who often did well during their lives to aid humanity and their community, who have now contracted with the Most High of the Creator gods to continue to exist in the evolution of humanity, certainly starting with their own family, their own bloodline, their own lineage, and often, again, interceding on our behalf. I refer to them as our front line of defense. Our direct ancestors, deceased family members, such as parents, grandparents, great grandparents, who are honored for their contributions to the family. Family ancestors, these are family members who have lived righteous lives and are believed to watch over the descendants, providing guidance and protection. Communal ancestors are ancestors who belong to a particular clan or ethnic group, playing a significant role in community rituals and celebrations. Collective ancestors are ancestors belonging to a particular clan or ethnic group who are seen as protectors and guides within the community. Mythical ancestors, legendary figures, revered for their wisdom and heroic deeds, often seen as protectors and guides, and often associated with specific cultural narratives. Spiritual guardians, ancestors, are believed to watch over the descendants, providing guidance and protection in daily life. In my own personal journey of delving into who my ancestors actually are or were, and utilizing technology such as Ancestry.com and 23andMe, I discovered that on average we have between 350 and 360 sets of grandparents on both sides of our bloodline, or our parental lineages, if you will, from now back to the mother continent. And I was born in 1966. So we often have a greater host of ancestors unknown that are standing as a front line of protection for us than just known ancestors and certainly relatives. So it's always important to acknowledge ancestors, both known but most certainly unknown. Ancestral veneration serves cultural continuity as a means to preserve cultural heritage and maintain social cohesion within communities. These belief practices reflect the deep rooted connection between ancestors and the living within West African practices in particular. And these categories reflect the diverse beliefs and practices surrounding ancestors in various African cultures, emphasizing their importance in spiritual and communal life. For example, Egun in the Yoruba culture and language, the singular form of Egungun representing an individual ancestor. Egun can also reference the often carved figure atop the ancestral masquerade costuming. We say Egungun, the plural form of Egungun. And so the Egun sits atop the Egungun to channel the ancestral spirits into the suit. But the Egunguns can often speak for and have multiple ancestors speak through them. And Egungun often referencing our collective male ancestors. Gelede, Gelede, our great mothers or our ancestral mothers, another form of ancestral masquerade honoring our beloved mothers and the sacred power of Iyami, sacred and mysterious power of women. Igunori, Igun Ori, the spirit that guides people's thinking and is the spiritual guide of protective spirits. Egun Shibo, a spirit that protects a person from the moment of their birth or becomes attached for some reason during life. Aronu, Aronu, a high level spirit with a lot of light and energy. And then Egun Ori, the spirit that guides people's thinking, often the ancestor connected most directly with our heads, Ori, our consciousness. And these types of eguns are part of the broader Yoruba tradition of honoring ancestors and maintaining a connection with the spiritual realm. Each type of egun has its own significance and a role within the Yoruba religious and cultural practices. So, indeed, we honor ancestors, both known and unknown. But within these practices, particularly, there are ethnic, family specific, communal specific spirits that are honored and acknowledged. On tomorrow night, I will share more on other forms of ancestral masquerade, such as Makisi dancers, Ikpele masqueraders, Zangbeto masqueraders. And tonight I ask, how do you honor and acknowledge your ascended, your elevated ancestors? And not just those, dead relatives that we all know, and certainly not the problematic relatives that exist within 11 generations of our bloodlines and lineages. But certainly, how do we acknowledge those elevated and ascended ancestors and invite them to intercede, to intervene on our behalf? Greetings and salutations, Elijah Dupois. Please do unmute your mic. Queen Mother Martinez, please come on in. Elder Reggie Green. So, greetings and salutations to you and yours.
Greetings, everyone.
Hello.
Good evening, everyone.
Mhm.
Hello, everyone out in the listening audience and my esteemed panelists.
Mhm.
Basically, I just talk to my ancestors like I'm having a conversation with them. I could tell when I have an ancestor near me as in my house. It's one that always comes smelling like rose. I mean, strong odor of roses. Till I'm looking around like, what? Where that's coming from? I'm thinking one of my kids then came in and sprayed something, but it don't be that. And then another one, which I think is on my mother's side, either my mother or my grandmother, they knock pictures off the wall for no
Mhm.
reason. I have a picture with all my siblings on it. And it's been on my wall since I met them for some years now. And about a month ago, it came off the wall. It just came on the floor. It didn't break the glass or anything. I just heard it. I went to investigate and it was on the floor. So I looked at the frame and everything. Everything was fine with it. I don't know why it come off the wall. It shouldn't have come off the wall. So I changed the frame anyway because I am who I am. I changed the frame, put it back in the same identical spot. 2 nights later, same picture on the floor again. So then I start worrying, kind of like, is something going on with one of my siblings? But so far, that hasn't been the case. But I also said, well, since you don't want the picture on the wall, I'm not going to put it up right now. So the picture just sitting on my dining room table. I didn't put it up. I'll get some of my African pictures for no reason or come off the wall with this particular spirit of the ancestor. It'll come off the wall. They'll come off the wall in the hall. So I'm used to my ancestors kind of being around and knowing when they are around. Like I haven't been out on my front porch in a long time, just sitting there. And today I see 2 butterflies came to visit me. And I'm like, that have to be my mom and daddy because they just together. And looked like one was chasing the other one. And I was like, there go mama fussing at daddy. So, one looked like it was just chasing the other one all around. And I sit out there and just watch them play in front of me. And I take that as being my ancestors visiting.
Yeah, Sister Toni, that's a good point. I'd like to come in and give Divine Prince a big clap for this topic and show tonight. Because as you peruse through the internet, you hear the word ancestors used, reused, and overused, but they don't really break it down into the layers like Divine Prince read tonight. That's important to understand these ancestors in these higher callings that has an impact on our lives. And by breaking it down for different sectors, it gives us a better world view of why we are living and why we reincarnate back into the living and how we reincarnate back. And the ancestor part of that becomes very, very important because everything we are doing is being seen. There's unseen eyes watching. There's ancestors guiding us left, guiding us right, guiding us through the middle. And they're not trying to interfere. They're just trying to lead you to a path to live your best life. So when you pass on and you're looking to come back as a reincarnated being and you are guiding others. And that's the best way I can say of this ancestral thing and explain it. And I am really grateful for this topic tonight. What say you, Elijah?
Thank you, Elder Reggie. I'm actually like pretty happy that this topic has been brought up between like ancestors and elevated ancestors. Originally, when Divine Prince brought this up, I thought he was going to go in a different direction. And I thought he was going to go more into like the Lama Dama and Mammy and the Big Mama situation. But he went more in line with, I guess, with like direct but elevated family. And it's funny that he brought this up because not too long ago, I started communicating with my great-great-grandmother who's been reaching out, and she prefers to go by Big Mama. And that's never a term that we use in my family outside of like soul food. And so I was resistant against it, and we went back and forth for a while. A couple of times with my spirits, we go back and forth, but eventually I yield to them, you know what I mean? So it's like a real rapport. But how I honor her as like the last conjure person in my family that was out and about besides me was I created like a image for her that I'm keeping to a portrait on a different side of my altar, because I have my main altar, family altar, and then I have like her altar, and then on my spiritual cabinet. But for her, I gave her own. She has her own cup, you know, with water for offerings and ancestor cup. She's got her own candle. She's got her own, like she was a hidden more within the church. So I found a Bible with flowers and stuff like that to speak in her language. So even though it's not my language, I do what she asked me to do. So I use that to kind of be like our intermediary for when I need to go to her. But she guides me. She gives me like workings. She tells me things in my dream. She whispers to me throughout the day, and she's been like a real strong force and kind of like reinforcing me and like with like different recipes and prescriptions.
That's good. That's good, Elijah. You paying attention, and that's all they want us to do is open our ears, our mind, our thoughts, and pay attention. I like to reflect right quick on the young lady who was speaking in Haiti when she visited her family in the country. Her grandfather, her father, and her relatives tried to set the stage for her. Look, you're gonna sleep here tonight. You're gonna hear things. You're gonna get unrattled, but please stay calm and fight through it. Because, yeah, we have ancestors, but our ancestors are fighting for us. There's entities, there's other energies that's always trying to attack us. But our ancestors, our elevated ancestors, also there's deities that are always fighting on our behalf. And sometimes they say, I'm fighting this fight for you, just give me a drink of water, or leave an apple, or give me a smoke, or something of this type nature. They're trying to send the signal to you, they just can't tell you. And sometimes you get the inclination to do something out of the blue, to light a cigarette or leave a Coke or apple or something of that nature, and you give him back thanks on the behalf of these entities and elevated ancestors and ancestors that are fighting on your behalf. Okay, I have an ancestor altar, true enough. That's my first line of defense with my family. But I have elevated ancestor altar also, which I acknowledge all the heroes and sheroes that put in this hard work to get the African Americans to where we are at today. The Rosa Parks, the Martin Luther King, the Frederick Douglass, the Sojourner Truth, and I could go on and on. I don't have a representation of all of them, but I put them in a basket of elevated ancestors, but I do have pictures of some of them. And I remember them. If I read a story and I see something that they may have liked when reading the story, sometimes I would incorporate that into my offerings. And that's how I do it.
For indeed, I was taught and have learned through experience that our ancestors are our front line of defense. Today, people are so quick to want to, jump to Loa and Orisha and magic and rituals and spells and whatnot. And indeed, our ancestors are our front line of defense to all our human earthly endeavors. I was taught that God speaks in a soft, still voice, requiring us to be still, to be quiet, to be meditative, uh, ritual application and prayer, and we still may not hear that still voice of God with clarity. But our ancestors who have had a human incarnation, who understand the ramifications of human existence, continue to live on now in our blood. And it's not just voodoo philosophy, it is supported in biology, archaeology, DNA, that ancestral memory survives in the blood at least 11 generations. So in, knowing thyself, first and foremost, we come to connect and reconnect and begin to understand our ancestral lineage, our ancestral inheritance. And it's almost impossible to be involved in ancestral work without some degree of shadow work coming to the surface. As Elder Reggie stated, the ancestors are in constant battle, in the spirit realm for us in our best interest. Now, you might call them generational curses, you might call them soul ties and soul entanglements, but these contaminants can pass down generationally, at least 11 generations. And those who have come before us know and understand the best who we are, what we've contracted to do in terms of our destiny. our reason for being here, and then how to help us to move that forward. And they tend to be more aggressive uh, than God, if you will. The ancestors will see you crossing out into the middle of the road, in the crossroads, if you will, and will see that truck coming, be it the blessing or the curse, and will push you to the curb. And that curb is the illusion of the issue, the block, the challenge, the complication. It is that point of getting your attention, often to
Mhm.
warn, to protect you, to defend you, to help you in better creating and recreating a reality that mirrors your best interest. So our ancestors often, when they do act, when they do show up, Sister Toni, pushing pictures around on the wall and whatnot, they tend to be much more aggressive. And it's also, and I have to add, well, you don't need to be initiated to work with your ancestors, and you don't need no mentoring. Absolutely, you do not. However, as I just suggested, you will have shadow energy that will come to the surface. And when you begin to work with particular entities that resonate with a particular ethnic group or practice or lineage, it's certainly helpful to have guidance, mentorship, and eldership to sort of assist you in that journey. There are many traditions all across the continent and here into the so-called New World that we do to prevent uh, disgruntled deceased, unhappy ancestors, negative,
Mhm.
problematic relatives from continuing to rise up, in the bloodline. Let's get
Mhm.
real here.
Mhm.
Thieves, murderers, pedophiles, those who aided, the oppressor, all of those spirits still exist. Energy does not die. It is only recycled in the universe. So there's some degree of work that we all have to do individually and collectively to appease the ancestors, to ensure that the low energy stays low and out of the way, and the high energy is allowed to reverberate to the top and throughout creation.
Oh, excellent, excellent point, Divine Prince. Because this is based on the true fact that there's birth, there's life, there's death, and there's reincarnation. So this cycle, irrespective of person, this cycle still has to go through its phases. And that becomes so important. So when you're living life and all the obstacles that you're faced with, they become what I call experiences. They become a truth in a sense for the life that you are living. And then you move on. But that truth served the purpose. Because for the new life that's going to be coming in, it's coming in with some wisdom, it's coming in with some experience. Even though sometimes we do get people who are first incarnation, but most of us, when we are coming back into this realm as a baby, we are coming with layers and layers of previous life forms.
Mhm.
And this comes out in the divination that, okay, this is your third incarnation into the earth, or this is your fifth. And so you're coming back, not the physical you, but it's your essence through your ancestors to learn certain lessons. And what Divine Prince was saying was excellent in bringing that part out. And we will continue to build on this. We're scratching the surface right now, but we are uncovering a real truth that gives, to me, it gives foundation to voodoo, foundation to the ATRs, because they're based on ancestry.
Yeah,
Yes. I wanted to touch on something that Divine Prince had brought up, which was the mentorship, how important that is, even if you're not from an initiatory practice. I think that's so important because depending on what type of family you're from and like what kind of spirits you have, there's certain things that you're not going to find in a book. For instance, when you're opening door to spirits, even in family spirits, I have not seen in not one book the same caution to be able to cleanse yourself and close off after working certain conjures with certain spirits, even their family, because you'll notice, at least I've noticed, when I conjure with certain spirits, even the family, if you don't close that door after, if you don't cleanse after, some of their personality traits, some of the negative traits that they have may rub off. You'll wonder, why am I all of a sudden, or why am I drinking, or why am I smoking? Like, things that they battled with are now kind of like just that residues on you. And you wouldn't learn without proper mentorship. It doesn't got to be priest, but a proper mentor or a proper house. If someone was mentoring to guide you, they would tell you, okay, make sure you clean yourself after. Make sure you cleanse yourself. Also, when you go to a mentor or to a house or whatever you want to call your tribe, there's this process of trial and error, right? When you go to an established house, that trial and error period, you could potentially have 10, 11 generations of just the trial, right? Without any of the errors. There's so much knowledge and power from all those previous people that you are absorbing without having to go through the error process. So off rip, you're already going to be above some of your peers who don't have that knowledge and that power that you have, taken on.
Yes, Elijah. Good point. Good point. Good
Well,
point.
And
well,
Sister
my
Toni, how many
ancestors.
times have you heard, Sister Toni, how many times have you heard, I don't know where she got that from. I don't know where he got that from. He didn't get it from
Yeah,
me.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And the thing that I have to keep knocking home to my children, stop saying something told me. Acknowledge who that something is. Because
Mm-hmm.
really, under the surface, you know who that is telling you that. But it's
Mm-hmm.
just easier. My youngest daughter, who really have heightened sensitivity for the supernatural, something always telling her something. And I finally got her. That's what she used to say. Something told me. I mean, I have to constantly say, stop saying something. Acknowledge who is giving you these warnings. Acknowledge who is protecting you. And getting back to the thing about the demons in the yard, where I live now, this is the first house that I felt something was wrong with my yard. My washing machine and stuff is in the back, in the shed outside. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like to wash because I don't like going in my backyard. My youngest daughter with the heightened sensibility, she's the only one who, Mama, I do not like going in that backyard. She'll say, let me hurry up and get finished washing before it get dark. But when I moved here, Spirit told me, you need gnomes. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think nothing about it, but it stayed on my mind like something just constantly on your mind. And then it said, you need gnomes. And I didn't even look up gnomes. I'm familiar with gnomes. I know people collect gnomes. Don't know why, don't know what they do. But I started seeing gnomes for sale. So I bought them and I put them in my front yard and in my backyard. After I put the gnomes in my yard, and I'm constantly connecting them and putting them in my yard every time I see one, a yellow cat appeared from nowhere. Not a neighborhood cat. I don't know where this cat came from. But this cat came, and one morning my brother-in-law came to the house and he said, Val, you know you got a snake on your step? And I'm like, a what? And he like, a snake on your step. And I go and see, and sure enough, there is a snake stretched out long dead on my step with bite marks on it like the cat did it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the cat just disappeared. I didn't see it. I told my brother-in-law, throw that away. Go throw it far away from my house. And I never saw that cat again. But I keep the gnomes and I keep collecting the gnomes because something not right about this piece of land my house sit on. Exterior, I don't know. New Orleans in Gentilly, this used to be swamp. So ain't no telling what's
Mm-hmm.
going on around here. So I got gnomes on my front porch, gnomes in my front yard, gnomes in the backyard. So it make me feel better. It make me feel better.
Sister
Well,
Toni, have you ever tried to purify your backyard, or have you ever tried to like plant like certain protection herbs in your garden to kind of purify or cleanse the space?
No, I never did that. I never did that because I never thought about it again other than past the gnomes. Now I have herbs. I have like sage and I have rosemary and stuff like that that's growing. I have what they call wandering Jew and all that stuff that's just growing in my yard. But I just planted it there. Maybe my spirit told me what to plant, but it's there. So I never did anything intentionally.
Sister Toni, I want to touch right quick. I know we're losing time up on the gnomes. The gnomes represents the little people, and the little people is pretty much alive as we are. They just live in another dimension, and I'm saying this from firsthand account. Eventually we'll talk about it and we'll get around to it. So by you choosing the gnomes, that was excellent. That was an excellent protector for you. And I just want to acknowledge that.
But an ancestor had to tell me, you know how people say it be like your conscious when you talking to yourself in your head. Our ancestor had to put that in my head because it just was exactly like this. You need gnomes. And I didn't second guess because I've learned not to second guess. Go with your first mind like the people tell you to. The old folks say follow your first mind. And I just did it and continue to do it. I sit them in flower pots. They nice. I have a little whatnot shelf in my backyard. And I sit them all around. And they look real decorative. But I know they're there for some kind of protection.
Yes, they are.
So our time is running short. And I'm going to turn it over to Elder Reggie to close us out.
Thank you, Sister Toni. Thanks, everyone in the collective chat. I'd like to read an advertisement. Come out and join us, Day of the Dead, Fête Gede. It's under the Haitian Voodoo Pantheon. It's going to be Saturday, November the 1st, from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's located at the New Orleans Healing Center, and that location is 2372 St. Claude Avenue. It's at the corner of St. Roch and St. Claude. If you're in the local area and you could come out, please come out and support that event. It's nice. You get to see multiple altars. You get to meet some cool people, and you will not be a triangle. All right, we have ritual prayer and application ceremony. We're called on Wednesday, November the 12th. Mark that. In the sign of Scorpio. Wow. At 6:30 p.m. Location 710 Cluett Street, a ritual spiritual warfare gathering. Lest we forget, the spiritual medicine of voodoo brings healing and relief from the shackles of slavery that bind the master and the slave to the same chain of social division. I like to say from the ritual we did last night, we're working toward that social division. We come by different faiths, different paths, different ethnicity, but we are moving as one. And that's all we could do is work to bring forward social change. With that, I say ashe, ashe, ashe. Good night, everyone, and we love you all.
Good night.
Good night, Odabo.
Good night.
Yeah, voodoo means to me, as I stated earlier, manifestation. Any object, any thing I can use that can manifest a results of positive for protection, for spirituality, and for economic reasons would be classified as voodoo for me.
Allow me to show you something.
They say I'm crazy and that might be true. I got this right in my DNA, yet I'm coming for you. It's time we turn the tables, flip these motherfuckers on you. I wanna see you hanging from trees. It's time you pay for your dirt and your showtime. You created the monster, you created the beast. Now all this savagery you just gon' reap. I'm coming home, daddy, to the plantation, and I'm taking the lives of everybody, including the children, on some Nat Turner. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. I met my girl Harriet at the gate. If you wanna know how she doing, yeah, she's straight. But she had one question: when we gon' get up? All that talking tough, yeah, we don't walk it tough. She got it locked and loaded, got that piece up on her side. She looked me in my eyes and said, "Meet you ready to ride?" Moving forward, you gotta use both eyes. Watch your front and watch your back. Keep your hands up on your gas. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. He sit at the table, but he don't order no bacon. He greet me in those words, Assalamu alaikum. Got them glasses on his face and them waves in his head. He go by the name of Detroit Red. He looks me in my eye and says, "You only get one try. Know that your biggest opposition will come from the inside. I know you wanna love them all, but don't even try, because they'll smile up in your face while plotting your demise." Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down.